quite eruption, it remains a blackened testament to nature's awesome raw power. Yet even at the foot of Mount St. Helens, the countryside has healed, and the Columbia River Valley is once again green and gorgeous. Near the mouth of the Columbia stands the city of Portland, home of the 1.9-mile Portland International Raceway Road Course, which today hosts another kind of awesome power, the prototype sports cars of the IMSA Camel GT. The surprising star of today's cast is Australian Jeff Brabham, who has put the totally redesigned Nissan 300ZX Turbo on the pole for today's race at a record speed of over 117 miles an hour. But he'll have competition. Making their reappearance after a 3-race absence are the high-tech Ford Mustang Probe. Alongside Brabham on the front row is the blazing Chevrolet Corvette, setting up a horsepower showdown between this man, Cyril van der Merwe, and Brabham in the Nissan. Leading the Porsche effort will be world champion Derek Bell of England, driving in separate cars with teammate Al Holbert. Standing by here with one of the future stars of the IMSA Camel GT, Scott Pruitt, who'll be assisting in the Ford Probe effort. The greatest field of the year is here in Portland, and we're overcast at Portland International Raceway. Temperature about 75 degrees, perhaps not the best weather for watching auto racing, but certainly great weather for driving. Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsho, welcoming you to another edition of International Motorsports Association Camel GT Racing here on ESPN. With me for today's G.I. Joe's Grand Prix, Bill Adam. After a 1-race absence to drive in the 6-hour race at Watkins Glen, Bill, today's race, less than 2 hours, a totally different ballgame.
Well, it really is. At Watkins Glen, we're faced with an endurance contest where pit strategy and teamwork makes a great difference to the overall structure of the race. This is a sprint race where you simply go as fast as you can, as long as you can, and there's no pit strategy involved. You got one pit stop, get back on the track and run as hard as you can.
How about the track? Now, Watkins Glen was a long track. Here you've got the two, perhaps the most powerful sports cars in the field right up front. What kind of a track is Portland? Horsepower or handling?
Well, the horsepower certainly makes a difference because it's a difficult car to pass, one that's going faster than you down the straight. But the torque that's going to be exhibited by the Jaguar will play a major force here. That car is very, very good coming off corners, and I think it's going to be a real contender today, Bob.
We'll watch for the Jaguars as well. Patrolling pit road for us today at Portland will be Gary Lee, who is standing by right now with our pole sitter, Jeff Brabham in the Nissan. Let's go to Gary now.
One of the pleasant surprises this weekend has been the return of the Nissan team. Now, Jeff Brabham will be driving solo and surprising a lot of people, perhaps not the crew, though. He sets a new track record. He'll start from the pole position. You guys were off the circuit for several weeks to really retool, redesign. Exactly what changes have you made?
Well, the team made extensive changes to the bodywork and also to the tunnels underneath the car. And really just driving out of the pit lane, I can feel the difference. They've made tremendous improvements in the downforce that the car generates, and it hasn't cost us much in drag. So I'm very pleased with the way that the Nissan people have improved the car since at least the last time I drove it.
You're not throwing around any figures. There was one figure I heard about 900 horsepower for qualifying, and all you're saying is that with a race set up, you're losing, what, about 10% of your boost?
Well, I believe so. If you believe me or not, I really have no idea how much horsepower this engine gives. I haven't even asked them, but it's definitely a very nice engine to drive. We were about, 7-8 mile an hour slower than the Buicks and the Chevy at the end of the straight, which is really about where we figured we'd be. So we'll just have to see what happens in the race.
With the chicane for the Indy cars, without the chicane for the GP cars, which do you like the best?
Well, I think I don't really mind if chicane is there or not for the Indy cars, but for the GTP cars, I think not having the chicane is a good idea because the closing speeds between the fast cars and the slow cars in this type of racing is so great that I'd hate to be trying to pass them going into the chicane. So I think it's a good idea that they don't use it.
It's a short sprint race, important to start from the front. Jeff's on the pole.
And further back in the pack here at Portland, we have a great comeback story. This was the scene in qualifying yesterday when young Davy Jones crashed one of the two cars on a BMW team. As you can see, Jones got out of the car. He was in good shape, but that number 18 machine definitely was not. The car was taken back to the pits, where it was discovered to have mostly cosmetic damage to the bodywork, very few mechanical problems, and miraculously, the crew was able to get the car back in shape to run today's race. Just moments ago, as the field was set, the number 18 car was right there, ready to go racing with the rest of this incredibly fast field. forms up for today's 300-kilometer G.I. Joe's Grand Prix. Let's take a look at this Portland International Raceway 1.9-mile road course. 9 turns, mostly right-handers, but some tight ones as well. Darren Brassfield will be sharing our number 68 BF Goodrich Porsche camera car today with Jochen Maas. We asked Darren to take us for a lap at Portland.
Here we're going down Portland's long front straightaway, getting up to speeds of probably 185 miles an hour before we go into turn 1 and get on the brakes real heavy here. Downshift to 3rd gear, go through this corner right back into the power, getting speeds of about 105 miles an hour. Into turn 2, just keep it real tighty, coming up to a short little straightaway here. A little left-hander here, just keep it nice and tidy through there. Get on the power and going over to one of the most important corners on the track, because you're leading onto the back straightaway. Get in here, get the car turned, and right back into the power. Shift up to 3rd, then 4th, and then 5th. Reaching speeds of 170 miles an hour before we come into the quickest corner on the racetrack. Turn 8, downshift right here, just light onto the brakes. Turn it in, right back into the power here. Toss it back the other direction and get heavy on the brakes. Turn 9, get right back into the power. Come rolling out here, and then just to finish up the lap.
Well, if you could take your eyes off the road during Darren's lap, you've got to look at some of the dark clouds hanging overhead here at Portland. But believe it or not, there is no rain forecast for today's race. Let's take a look at the way they'll line up. As we said before, Jeff Brabham out of Australia on the pole at better than 117 miles an hour in the Nissan. Alongside Cyril van der Merwe and Doc Bundy in the Chevrolet Corvette. One of the few teams that will be making driver changes in this short race today. Moving to row 2 will be the first of the beefed-up 6.5-liter Jaguar XJR7s. Car owner Bob Tullius will be in that car. The car will be started by Chip Robinson, who will then hand over to Tullius. Outside of row 2, we'll see the first of the Porsches, something of a surprise. Bob Aiken, after an off race at Watkins Glen, his car will be started by English endurance veteran James Weaver. On row 3, the defending champion and the series champion, Al Holbert, driving solo in a Porsche, alongside his teammate, Derek Bell, the reigning World Endurance champion, also in a Lowenbrow Porsche 962. On row 4, Whitney Gantz, the fastest art history major in the history of Stanford University. He'll be starting that Buick Hawk with Scottish IndyCar veteran Jim Crawford. Outside on row 4, we'll see John Watson, a Formula One veteran, driving the first of the BMW GTPs with Englishman David Hobbs. On row 5, we'll see Bob Wallach in a Porsche 962. Wallach driving solo for the Bruce Levin team. Outside on that row will be the first of the Ford Probes. Tom Gloy will start. And Tom may hand over later in the race to Lynn St. James, the fastest woman in auto racing history. On row 6 will be the second Ford Probe of Klaus Ludwig and Scott Pruitt standing by in relief. John Andretti and Davy Jones in the BMW will be outside of that row. On row 7 will be Brian Redman and Hurley Haywood starting the second Jaguar XJR7, Jim Busby and John Morton in a Porsche outside there. Row 8 will see Darren Brassfield and Jochen Maas in our camera car today. Alongside will be Bruce Levin and Paulo Barilla in another Porsche. Row 9, Rob Dyson and Bryce Cobb in a brand new car. 4 days ago, this car was delivered and put together in New York, shipped out here for today's race. Bob Earl alongside in the leading Camel Lights car. Jim Downing will drive solo in a Mazda Argo on row 10. Outside will be Howard Katz and Steve Phillips in a Chevy-powered Taiga. Jim Rothbarth and Mike Meyer, the Sebring winners, will start a Mazda Royale in the 21st position. Skeeter McKittrick and Bill Cole alongside in an Olds Alba in the 22nd spot. Bill, about the fastest field we've seen since Miami back in March. Have you got a winner in mind?
It really is just an incredibly spectacular field. All the factory participation is right back, but the drop of the green flag should really be something today. We have the 2 highest horsepower cars in the history of the Camel GT series, the Nissan and the Corvette. They're set up for the drag race of all time right here, and to pick a winner of the drag race, I wouldn't even hazard a guess at this one.
Well, in fact, the front straightaway here at Portland is, in fact, a drag strip. It's over a half-mile long. We have the 2 most powerful cars in IMSA Camel GT racing on the front row. The Nissan and the Chevy will split 2,000 horsepower. The green flag is out, the hammer is down, and off they go.
Here we go. You can just see the Jaguar try to sneak up the outside, but horsepower is going to tell down the straight. Holbert, too, is coming up the middle there. Look at that, Bob.
4 wide on the front straight. Position changes right from the starting line. Give it to the Corvette as they head down into turn 1. Cyril van der Merwe and the Chevy Corvette takes the early lead. It's a clean first turn, and we are racing at Portland.
Excellent start. A very, very good start by Holbert particularly. He made a good, clean start, used the horsepower available, and anticipated the drop of the flag to get that boost, the all-important turbocharger boost, into the position possession where it was going to help him. He got a tremendous start.
Al Holbert moving up from the 5th spot to 3rd on the first turn. There you see the order. Vandenberg in the Corvette, the Nissan, Holbert, followed by Robinson in the Jaguar, and Derek Bell running in 5th position. And we've got someone off. Whitney Gantz has taken the Buick off the track on the first lap.
Oh, this is unfortunate. Right in the back of the field already.
We'll take another look at that spin. Totally surprising. When the tires are brand new, the tires are warm. He should be getting ultimate traction as we watch the Chevrolet completing the lap. Here's another look at Whitney Gantz's problem in the Buick.
It's hard really to tell what happened there. He was so far removed from our camera position. It appeared that something might have locked up on the back of the car this moment. Maybe even brakes with the cold tires, as you say, but the car... Oh, now he's coming into the pit, so it looks like he does have some problem.
Something mechanical wrong with the Buick Hawk. Started the season as a 2-car team, now just 1 car. And we're back to action with the Chevrolet and Sarel van der Merwe leading Jeff Brabham in the Nissan. Good look there, and a totally redesigned car, Bill. Very different from the Nissan that we saw last year.
Oh, it's a very pretty car now, and the back of that car is quite reminiscent of the long-tail Porsches you see at Le Mans. It's very low and really stretched out quite a bit. It's a good-looking piece of machinery.
Look at the number 44 Jaguar there as lap 2 comes to an end with the Rick Hendrick prepared Chevrolet Corvette on the post. We've already had attrition here. Gary Lee is standing by in the Buick pits.
Whitney Gantz in the RC Buick Hawk is back in the pit area as a result of an off-track excursion on the first lap. It's more or less a second inspection. They took off the nose, checked the front suspension. They're checking over the rear of the car right now. Gantz stays in the cockpit. His co-driver, Jim Crawford, stands by, looks over the activity as they're trying now to fasten that front nose. A very costly pit stop for a car that has perhaps as much horsepower in this Buick as any other GTP car out here.
Okay, thank you, Gary. We're back up watching the battle for 4th as Chip Robinson has gotten the Jaguar around Al Holbert of the number 14 Porsche. Tough break for the Buicks, Bill.
It's really unfortunate. As Gary said, this is a very high horsepower car, and Portland is one track that does benefit it. It's got tremendous torque, tremendous horsepower, and this long straight really helps offset the handling problems they've had with that old March chassis.
So I must correct myself. I said earlier that was Al Holbert in the first Lowenbrow Porsche. That is Derek Bell up in 3rd place, closing in now as we watch Bell, the Jaguar of Chip Robinson, and the Porsche of Al Holbert making their way around 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the racetrack right now. There you see the Buick making its way back off pit road. Whitney Gantz trying to get back into the battle here at Portland. It doesn't take long for the field to get around on this 1.9-mile course. Under a minute in qualifying for the fastest cars, so you don't want to stay in the pits long if you can avoid it. A good look from inside the number 68 BF Goodrich Porsche at the hands of Jochen Maas, 41-year-old world endurance veteran living in Monte Carlo, originally from West Germany. And he's got all he can handle right now as you see the 07 Ford Probe of former Trans Am champion Tom Gloy bearing down from behind.
These cars are running very, very tight right now, and Jochen may enjoy a very slight horsepower advantage with the turbocharged Porsche motor. But watch the Ford. He's staying close enough on the straight. Superior braking draws him right up. Look at him close up right there. It's a lighter car, much better at that particular point.
As we've said throughout the year, keep in mind as we take a look at Jochen Maas that the Porsches are all carrying 160 pounds of extra weight this year, which has changed the brake balance in the cars and made the cars somewhat difficult to handle throughout the year, even though Porsches have continued to win their share of the races. Another look from inside the car as Jochen Maas takes us around Portland. We'll be back with more from the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix here on ESPN right after these words from our sponsors. Gary Lee with you as we watch the 83 Nissan of Jeff Brabham lapping the 24 Pontiac Fiero. That's the leader in the Campbell Lights field. And Derek Bell will also put a lap on the slower, smaller Campbell Lights car. Here's a look at your leaders. Sarel van der Merwe in the Chevrolet Corvette. 6 pole positions to his credit thus far this year. Leading this car, the number 83 Nissan.
Right now, it looks like Jeff Brabham is driving very, very comfortably, as is this man. The Holbert team with Derek Bell and Al Holbert, each being an individual car, is just an awesome force today. They really are just spectacularly powerful. They both have all this experience. But Jeff Brabham right here is doing a beautiful job. He's running a very well-developed car. This is really surprisingly quick for this stage of its development career, and it's doing very nicely.
Not only are we watching Chevrolet Corvette versus Japanese-built Nissan, we're watching East Coast versus West Coast technology. Corvette built in the shops of Rick Hendrick, a powerful NASCAR force, while the Nissan Nissan was built by Don Devendorf's Electromotive operation here on the West Coast. So the Nissan is very much a home team car in this race. Are you surprised at all, Bill? I mean, we're lapping in the 102 range very, very quick, and yet Bell is able to stay very close to the Corvette and to the Nissan, despite the fact that he's probably about 200 or 300 horsepower down to these two cars.
Well, he really is down that much, as you say. And it's only Derek's experience and the experience of the entire Holbrook Racing organization that's keeping him where he is. He, like Al, can never be counted out of a race, even with the Corvette here and the Nissan having a sizable horsepower advantage. Taking a look back now, you see the number 67 BFG car trailed by the 07 Jaguar. Excuse me, the 07 Ford, that's Tom Gloy in the Ford Probe there, and the Jaguar, number 04, driven by Hurley Haywood. This is an interesting battle to watch, Bob. You can see the power of the turbo Porsche stretch out a bit of a lead on the straights, and yet the Probe and the Jaguar regain some of that distance back going into a corner. Here we're coming onto a back straight. Let's just watch what happens when the turbocharger takes over. Look at this, drawing out, pulling out that extra little bit of distance. But watch when they get at the bottom of the straight. The light weight of the Probe allows him to draw right back up and maybe even take a shot at passing under braking. Here he is, closing and closing right through here. Watching the battle for 12th position on the track, 12th, 13th, and 14th, the three cars in your screen right now. Followed by the Buick, which is a solid lap down, even in the early stages here, after having early trouble staying on the racetrack. Now, look at the Probe. Here's a point where he may get a good shot at passing under braking. He's staying well within the draft, and he's going to try it. Tom Gloy, former Trans Am champion, takes a look inside of Jim Busby, but decides not to. The horsepower there is just a little too much at this point. He's got to get even closer to get that shot of passing under braking, but that's where the Probe has to do it, and then get a bit of a lead through this twisty back part of the course, so the horsepower advantage won't retake the lead going down the front the next time. Great example of the old and the new in IMSA Camel GT racing. And speaking of new, the Chevrolet Corvette in its first full season, the Nissan in its second full season, although the Nissan has had something of a spotty record. Talk about a difficult berth. That car crashed several times last year trying to just keep it on the racetrack. They went through suspension changes, bodywork changes. But I'd have to say right now, here in Portland, it looked like Don Devendorf has got the Nissan worked out. And with Jeff Brabham at the wheel, they are putting on a show for the fans here in Portland. Well, Jeff has really closed right up on the Corvette at this point, too. They were holding a very steady gap for quite a length of time, but at this point, Jeff is definitely closing on him. And it's a good point you brought up about the history of this car, because at one point, it was almost a joke. It really wasn't a serious contender. They were suffering so many breakages, particularly in the suspension. Now they've got a tremendously fast competitor here, and the fact that it's able to challenge a car like the Corvette really shows how far Don Devendorf has brought this whole team along. It's a tremendous achievement. There you see just a dozen laps into this 97-lap race. The three front runners, the Chevy Corvette, the Nissan, and Derek Bell's Porsche putting a lap on the 73 Camel Lights car of Howard Katz. A rather small field in the Camel Lights division in this race. Only 4 cars made it on the track. Camel Lights being special class within this race. Smaller, lighter weight, less powerful, less expensive prototype cars. Great racing machines, but no match for the speed of these big fire-breathing prototypes. There goes the Nissan. Unfortunately, Jeff got into the wrong position on that last lap there, having to lap the GTP light car in just the wrong... Oh, look at Derek, just sliding out of the corner there. Once again, Derek's getting his teeth into it, and he's having good fun out here. Well, that may explain what I was getting at before about how the underpowered Porsche, compared to those two front runners, is able to stay up. Derek Bell is just driving that car at the edge. You see him hop the curb as he goes through turn 8 into the long sweeping turn 9. Love watching. Whoa, Derek. A little dirt tracking there. Ooh, an example of Derek Bell going beyond the limit in the Porsche, just trying to stay close. Here's another look. Watch as Bell dives into the turn. What has happened? Derek is so far on the outside of the track that he's getting the rear wheels off onto the dust and just the rubber particles that builds up. With a heavy braking application, this tends to lock up the rear wheels a little bit, but he held it. It made it look like an effortless slide. It was just no problem for him, when in actual fact, it's a very difficult thing to do, and he carried off that smoothly. Saw Bell control that skid by turning in the direction of the skid like every good driver will do. I guess that's what makes a world champion. Let's go down to Gary now.
These teams are prepared to go the distance on only one stop, but the pit crew has to be prepared for most anything. They have their tools, the tires, the fuel, even spare body parts. But here at Portland, it's not difficult to remain prepared because the hauler is parked only about 75 feet away.
Talk about preparation. Standing by with arms folded in the white driving suit, one of the great endurance drivers of the world, Brian Redmond, waiting to relieve Hurley Haywood. We'll be back to Portland after.
Oh, now we got one of my favorite cars involved there, a certain number 85 Porsche.
That's the Bruce Levin Porsche that Bill Adams services here. Jochen Mass, the number 68 BF Goodrich Porsche, challenged by Wallach in the number 85 car, and Tom Gloy, the former Trans Am champ, driving the Ford Probe in third, and looks like they're both going to take a shot at Mass.
Oh, good in-car shot there of Wallach getting by on the inside. Got a better run onto the straight. And again, it's so important with the momentum to get the turbocharger up on boost. You don't want the lag. When you put your foot in the gas, there's nobody home. You want to get it there ahead of time, so you got it. And that's just simply what Bob did. He was ready. And look at the gap he's stretching out just by that little bit of advanced throttle application.
Once more down the long front straightaway. Once again, this is a drag strip. These cars reaching terminal speeds in the area of 190 miles an hour. Then under heavy braking as they head into turn one. There you see the interval. Wallach quickly opening up a gap on Jochen Mass, the number 68 BF Goodrich car. Tom Gloy waiting his turn to try a pass in the 07 Ford Probe. And now we see the number 7 car of Klaus Ludwig, three-time Le Mans 24-hour winners, pulling up behind Gloy.
Excuse me, Bob. Just saw the back of Jochen Mass's car twitching there. Even though both these probes are closing up on him and are obviously quicker through the infield section, Mass is driving this car hard enough that it's twitchy right now. He's got to be feeling a little frustrated. He's having a difficult time holding the Gloy car off at this point.
Porsche being hounded by the two young Ford Probes.
Here we go. Now the Fords will try and get on the gas as early as possible here to stay close, to get into that braking area and maybe take a shot at passing. They're right in the slipstream, in the draft area right now, trying to use all the help the Porsche will give them to stay there for a shot at braking. He may try it.
Gloy looking to the inside. Oh, side by side through turn one. Jochen Mass from the in-car. Tom Gloy gets by. There may have been contact there, Bill.
An excellent pass. Very, very well done. Tom got in as deep as he could to that corner and held his position. Jochen, with his experience, a brilliant driver, realized Tom was there and didn't come over to the point where he was going to force him off the track or put either car in jeopardy. Really smart move by both drivers.
Oh, I think Gloy may be leaning a little bit on an ill-handling Porsche being driven by Jochen Mass. Now, filling up Mass's mirrors is Klaus Ludwig in the 7 Ford Probe, and Ludwig looks like he's going to take a shot, braking at the end of the long back straight, and he does.
Yep, just slipped cleanly through. There's no problem at all. And again, a good spot to pass. Let's see what happens here.
Okay, we're back up in the front now. You see Jeff Brabham taking a look on the outside with a Nissan around the Chevrolet Corvette of Cyril van der Merwe. But it doesn't look like he's going to get him as they head once more down the long front straight. Heavy braking into turn one.
Boy, Jeff closed right up there to the point where I thought he was going to give Cyril a little bit of a nudge just to say, welcome to my corner. These cars seem to be spectacularly well matched right now. The horsepower is similar. The braking characteristics, both cars look like they're handling the tight infield section very well. See, neither car is getting twitchy. They both look very smooth. It almost looks like the drivers aren't working hard at all. They're both well-balanced cars and really performing well.
Great racing from front to back in this field at Portland International Raceway. 300 kilometers of sprint racing. These big International Motorsports Association Camel GT cars. Cyril van der Merwe, a rallying legend in his native South Africa, followed by Jeff Brabham, son of the former Formula One world champion, now Sir Jack Brabham.
Here we go. Horsepower once again, Bob. Almost 2,000 horsepower sitting right there in that pair of cars.
Indian file down the front straight. Brabham looking to the inside. Once more, it'll be van der Merwe. Now here comes Brabham up the inside into turn one.
He's getting...
Oh, there's contact.
No, Cyril just chopped him right there. Here's a replay of it. You can see that Jeff is getting up the inside under braking. I don't think that Cyril knows he's there at this point. He's concentrating on the track, and something was knocked off the front of the Nissan.
Saw the pieces fly. I believe it's the plexiglass headlight cover off the left front. Let's get a look. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. Now, I don't think that'll cause too much of a problem. There will be a slight aerodynamic change, but hopefully not too much. We should get an idea if it does cause a problem right away, because in the high-speed corners, this is where a loss of aerodynamic stability on the front end would have its greatest effect.
So with a little bit of brute force, Cyril van der Merwe maintains his lead over Jeff Brabham in the Nissan.
Now that, in no way, should be construed as dangerous dangerous driving on Serral's part. Jeff tried a good shot up the inside, but Serral held his braking late enough that Jeff did not have a clean pass. Serral had a right to the corner, which he took. When he turned over, there was just a small contact between the cars. But excellent driving on both drivers' parts.
I think I noticed a problem with the right rear. It would appear that Serral Vandermerve didn't come away from that confrontation without some damage. The right rear tail light on the Corvette appears to be not functioning at this point. So the first blood is drawn in this battle at the front of the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix. Yeah, there you see the right brake light on the Corvette is not working.
Yeah, you're right. It may just have knocked the wire off, but I don't think there's anything back at that point on the car that could be serious. The long-term effect on the car.
You got to look there at the white-trimmed windshield of Al Holbert, who has taken over third place with teammate Derek Bell. So it is Corvette passing under traffic here, getting a couple of wheels off on the grass is Serral Vandermerve, getting underneath the Mike Meyer, Jim Rothbard, yellow Camel Lights machine.
Very interesting characteristics. Once again, these two engines. Look at Serral swerving a bit in the straights, trying to get Jeff out of his slipstream. He doesn't want to help that Nissan. He knows the car is tremendously strong on the straights, and he wants to try and use the Corvette's horsepower to make a little bit of a gap, give himself some breathing space. Something interesting here that we just saw in the back part of that picture. Both blow and brow Porsches are getting awfully close to our leaders. There we go, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's Corvette, Nissan, Porsche, as we continue the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix here on ESPN. Hope you're enjoying it, and you'll stand by because we'll be right back. In the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix, there's a shot of Al Holbert in third place on the racetrack. The leaders, the black Chevy Corvette of Serral Vandermerve, followed by the Nissan of Jeff Brabham. Al Holbert, 4 times IMSA Camel GT champion, and we've got a pass.
We've definitely. Look at this. Jeff Brabham got a great run out of that last corner. He's been able to pass Serral in the straight, but Serral's dogging him. He wants it back.
Vandermerve off the outside, but give it to Jeff Brabham as they go into turn 1. We have a new leader. Here's the replay.
Just a case of getting on that horsepower earlier than Serral could. Serral was momentarily blocked by the number 63 GTP light. Couldn't get under all the horsepower right away. And that little bit of an edge gave Jeff all the room he needed to get by and grab the first place.
Quickly, Jeff Brabham opens the lead on the now second place Corvette of Vandermerve. The leaders are bunching up now. You see Al Holbert in the 14 car, Derek Bell in the Porsche with his lights on in the background. All the leaders bunched tightly as they head into turn 9 once again and onto the long front straightaway. Lots of traffic.
Oh, tremendous traffic here. This may give Serral an opportunity to get the lead right back.
Nice wide front straight. Oh, and the Nissan swings wide to avoid the number 16 Porsche of Rob Dyson and Price Cobb. But no contact, no foul.
No, very fortunate. Everybody got through there remarkably cleanly. I thought that traffic was going to create problems, but it didn't seem to do anything at all.
Everyone closing up under traffic as they head into turn 1.
All cars through safely.
Whoa, we've got a smoker in the pits. That's the number 67 BF Goodrich car. Jim Busby, the car owner, started that machine. That looks serious, Bill.
Well, from the vibration, it looked like Jim may have lost a right rear tire. There's a fair bit of bouncing as that car entered the pits, and possibly would bring up to date on that later.
Well, we expect the 67 car back on the track then, if it's not a bad problem. And the battle continues up front. The Nissan moving quickly out of the picture. Take a look at Derek Bell, presently running in 4th position on the racetrack. There goes the Nissan. Here comes the second place vet. There is Bell with his lights on to help his team differentiate the car. We've got dust on the racetrack. On the racetrack, and it's Holbert.
That was. Now, Al, very uncharacteristic, just made a mistake there at the end of that straight, and I believe just left his braking too late. Rather than risk turning the corner, he chose to go straight off. The grass is quite smooth at that point, and there was no risk of damage. A smart move on his part.
Well, he's got some kind of damage. He has dropped 2 places. Holbert now running in 5th or 6th position on the racetrack as Bell, his teammate, got by, as did Chip Robinson of the Jaguar. So mark it. Nissan, Corvette, Bell's Porsche, the Jaguar of Chip Robinson, and Al Holbert.
You know, that's almost nice to see, Bob. We realize that somebody as good as Al Holbert can make a mistake too. That I'm not the only one that occasionally spins.
You said it, Bill. Very uncharacteristic for Al. One of the most conservative but most aggressive drivers on the circuit. 4-time champion. Don't get that way by being sloppy.
Hello there, Derek.
Look there at Derek Bell, 44 years old, out of Pagham, England, the reigning world champion. Nice pass there by Vandermerve in the Corvette, getting around a slower Camel Lights car.
You know, that shows that Serral is very concerned about the potential of the Nissan, that he made a fairly high-risk pass at that point, getting so far to the inside of the track when there was a left-hand corner coming up. A little bit risky, but he doesn't want Brabham to get away. He realizes the potential of that car. It's tremendously quick.
James Weaver in the number 5 Coca-Cola Porsche of Bob Akin here in the pits now. This seems a little bit early for a pit stop. We don't expect but one stop from any of these teams at the midway point of the race. Here's the battle for third. Bell in the Porsche, followed by Al Holbert, who has gotten around Chip Robinson's Jaguar, running the third position in your picture there.
You can see how Chip is staying very close through this infield section. Again, the torque characteristics of the 6.5-liter V12 really helped this car. Oh, here's the Corvette lapping one of the Bayside cars.
Bruce Levin Porsche being shadowed at this point, now put a lap down by the Corvette. Levin Bayside Disposal Team, a 2 Porsche team for which Bill Adams sometimes gets a seat.
Yeah, particular fondness for that car, even though it's numbered differently from when I last drove it, but it's still got the right colors on it.
Now, they had a problem at Watkins Glen, not a terribly competitive car, but you gave me a very good reason for that in the engine compartment.
Well, it was really amazing that you think of the Porsche factories providing the absolute best, but in fact, we ran a stock factory Porsche motor in it when the team car was running an Andile motor. The Andile engines are the same engines run by all of the cars out here today, the V.F. Goodrich team, the Holbert team, and of course the Bayside team. A much stronger motor, very, very good, and you have to have one to be totally competitive.
The Andile shops in California, perhaps the reigning world experts in modifying these Porsches for racing.
They are the best.
Now here's a look at our second place Corvette, and the Nissan is nowhere in sight. So Jeff Brabham, with almost a 2-mile-an-hour advantage on this field, has perhaps been sandbagging to this point, sort of feeling out the Corvette, Bill, and now that he's got the lead, he is absolutely running away from this field.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be a bad move for him to do that.
Well, it looks like the problem with the Bob Akin James Weaver Porsche is more serious than we thought. Gary Lee has the story.
Well, once again, you've had a chance to assess the damage. What happened?
Looks like we've broken the right rear drive shaft, so we're out of the race. Takes too long to fix.
We've had a lot of racing this weekend. How are track conditions out there?
It's a little bit slippery, but very good. The surface here is very good, and it's a super track to race on. It's very fast down the straight. You can outbrake at the end of the straight, so it should be shaping up for a good race.
We had some complaints at Watkins Glen about racing with the GTUs, the GTOs. Here it's all the GTPs and the light cars. Obviously a lot more room out there.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for us, but also for the slower cars, because instead of having to look in their mirrors, they can get on with their race. It's bad for both of us if there's too much speed difference.
Well, tough break as James Weaver and Bob Akin are out of the race. There are your leaders as we take a good look at Mount St. Helens, and we'll be back after this. In-car camera, the number 68 B.F. Goodrich Porsche may be in a very unenviable position in just a moment. He's being borne down on from behind by the 2nd through 5th cars in today's race. Jochen Mass having his hands full with Cyril Vandermeer in the Corvette, and here it comes.
Just a show of, great shot there of horsepower, what it's doing on the straight. Look at this now. You can see the Jochens closing up at the end of the straight. The car has got particularly good brakes, but as we're going through the corners, watch the Corvette just draw out a little tiny bit. I think Jochens got his hands full today with the BF Goodrich tires. Maybe they don't work particularly well on this track. Look at the steering wheel movement. He's really fighting that car, using all his experience just to keep it as smooth as possible. Watch the entry out of the back straight here, Bob. You'll see the Corvette is able to get the power down sooner. Look at him draw away. He can use all of his horsepower. Tremendous. Look at this.
What I'm wondering, Bill, is where are the rest of those guys who were right behind the Corvette as the Corvette motor... Oh, well, here we go. Derek Bell, Al Holbert, Chip Robinson, Porsche, and Jaguar. Poor Jochen Mass has his hands full with our in-car camera today. But here is our leader, Jeff Brabham, overtaking the number 63 Camel Lights car of defending series champ Jim Downing, followed by Howard Katz in another Camel Lights car. There is the 04 Jaguar of Hurley Haywood and Brian Redmond, about to be lapped by the second-place car, as well as Cyril Vandermeer makes his way down the front chute at Portland.
Well, Jeff has really built up a most impressive lead at this point. He's driving very smoothly. It doesn't appear that he is extending either himself or the car at all. Just a nice, solid lead.
Taking a look back to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars, the Nissan about a 13-second lead roughly on the racetrack. Al Holbert has overtaken teammate Derek Bell. We didn't notice it a moment ago, but Al has recovered from that spin. He is back in 3rd place now, followed by teammate Derek Bell and by Chip Robinson hanging in there with the Jaguar.
They too. This is quite impressive. They're all staying in very close touch with that Corvette, and I wouldn't be surprised to see possible challenges coming up here. Oh, no.
There's the number 18 BMW. We showed you at the top of the show where the 18 car hit the wall hard in qualifying yesterday. They are apparently out of the race. Davy Jones having terrible trouble with that car. Down the long front straightaway, and the Jaguar challenges Derek Bell in a Porsche.
Well, a perfect place to do it, too. Look at that GTP light car just getting in the way a little bit. Not obstructing either car, but preventing Derek from trying to run on the outside of the Jag. A good, clean pass.
That's the number 63 Jim Downing car. Making way now as Chip Robinson goes by in the Jaguar. Bell follows in the number 1 Porsche. 29-year-old Chip Robinson, who has seen some IndyCar service this season, leading the 44-year-old reigning world endurance champion from Great Britain. Great battle.
You know, again, the Jaguar characteristics really seem to be working well in this track. That broad torque band lets you pull strongly out of a corner. That's the kick in the back you feel when you step on the car's accelerator. Horsepower helps you at the end of a straight, but it's torque that pulls you out of a corner, and the Jag works particularly well exiting this tight back section here.
Onto the front straightaway once more. Bell with the headlights on so his team can differentiate the car from Al Holbert's number 14 and to let cars in front of him know he's overtaking. 44-year-old Derek Bell. Age, certainly no barrier to the champions in this race. I did some homework, Bill, so let me get this in right now. Klaus Ludwig in the Ford is 37. Haywood, 38 in the Jaguar. Holbert is 39 years old. Bob Wallach in a Porsche here is 43. Bell, 44. Brian Redmond in the other Jaguar, 49, as we watch the number 83 Nissan of a very young Jeff Brabham down the stretch. Most of these drivers over 35 years of age, and yet you've got dozens of World Endurance wins, some Formula One wins, 10 Daytona 24 hours winners in this field. Absolutely ageless drivers, great athletes.
It really shows it that the age and the experience is so important to driving a car of this potential. This Nissan that we're watching right here, we're talking about a car that weighs approximately 2,000 pounds, half what your street car would weigh, and with 1,000 horsepower to play with. You've really got a weapon if you don't know how to use it right. Jeff Brabham is making this all look so easy right now. Everything is smooth and effortless. Look at the car going around the corner here. No wild slides, no drastic corrections. Just a very smooth performance, but the experience of Jeff Brabham is really coming through. Maybe his dad taught him some of that.
His father, Sir Jack Brabham, Formula One winner in his rookie season on the Formula One circuit. I don't think anyone else had ever done that. But here is the battle for second place now as Nissan and Brabham way out front. Van der Merwe and Corvette running in second place, pressed hard by Holbert in the Porsche.
Yeah, Al and Chip are both really closing up on the Corvette right now, and they want to try and challenge and take away that position if at all possible.
I don't think we can make too much of how well Robinson and this Jaguar are doing. This is an unturbocharged car, 6.5-liter V12, one of the many different types of engine and chassis involved in this race. And yet with that new 6.5-liter engine, up from the 6-liter they were using at the start of this season, the Jaguars have been very, very competitive.
I think we're going to have a challenge right here in the front straight right now, Bob. You can see that Al took a good run. That's Cyril's Corvette coming onto that front straight, but the Corvette's horsepower, look at what he stretched out just in the space of that quarter mile. Really impressive.
And Derek Bell is now in the pits, as you see. This will be the first of what we expect of single stops for the field in this 300-kilometer race. Meanwhile, Bell loses ground to these guys.
This would probably be a design stop. The Holbert crew, of course, cannot service both cars at the same time. One car may have been started a little bit light on fuel in order to bring them in early. The second car will be coming in probably within the next 5 or 10 laps.
Maybe even to get a little jump on the field, press everybody into running a little harder than they want to make room for the other team. You can never tell with a couple of master strategists like Al Holbert and Derek Bell. As Bell makes his way up pit road.
And what a crew. The Lowenbrow crew are outstanding. They always do a great job. And look at this. Here's Derek back on. No time at all lost. Lights back on.
He has not lost a lap. This is the battle for second place. Third car in that battle is Chip Robinson in the 44 Jaguar. Al Holbert in the middle of the pack. Corvette up front. And the struggle continues as they make their way onto the wide drag strip. action. Bill Adam with you as you watch the Chevrolet Corvette of Cyril Vandermerve get a little bit sideways, and Al Holbert is there to take advantage.
That's right. With the Corvette going out sideways, again, Cyril has to lift off the gas. You lose the boost in the turbocharger. But look at the horsepower telling here. Even though Al got by, he gets back on it, and that 200 additional horsepower keeps him out in front of the Jaguar. I think what's happening is with the fuel load lightening on the Corvette, possibly his rear tires are starting to go away, and those two things together are making the car very tail happy.
As Al Holbert opens up a quick lead, Cyril Vandermerve seems to be slowing perceptibly. Let's go down to pit road now and Gary Lee.
Well, the first of the team drivers to get ready is Doc Bundy. He is waiting for Cyril Vandermerve to bring in the number 52 Corvette. They're hoping to go into lap 50. However, they have so much horsepower, they have literally worn out the rear tires. So just in case Cyril brings the Corvette in early, Doc is standing by.
Well, I guess you could say concentration written all over the clouded visage there of Doc Bundy as he awaits this man, Cyril Vandermerve, with the next of what we expect to be a rash of pit stops here as we approach the midway point. There's a good look at the number 19 BMW. We saw the 18 car of Davy Jones and John Andretti pull out of the race just a few moments ago. This is David Hobbs and John Watson, the Formula One veteran.
That's nice to see them get back up into the battle, too. They have had a very rough season with fires and breakages and crashes, and took some time off to redevelop their cars, and they're becoming very strong. We've got another one of these marks challenging in here. Just unbelievable competition in the Campbell Series this year.
You're watching Chip Robinson hounding Cyril Vandermerve in the Corvette. Getting back to the BMWs, they could have finished second, I believe, at Watkins Glen in their debut or their return race to the series this season, but for a broken brake rotor, we've got a pass.
That was a perfect example. That Corvette is definitely getting loose in the back end, and you can see that the car is just getting twitchy as Cyril is constantly fighting the slides, and in fact, he's lost another position. The BMW has now passed him as well. He has serious problems with those rear tires, Bob.
So Cyril Vandermerve has very little choice now. He's going to have to stop and get new rear tires on that Corvette, and this could be key. Pit strategy very important on this quick Portland track. They're cutting the fuel allowances very, very tight on this thirsty V6 Chevy. They want to make the race in one stop. They have to make sure they're not coming in too early.
You see Cyril scrambling out of the car there. Doc Bundy ready to go in as all four tires are being changed. Just a quick scrub on the windshield here and fresh rubber all the way around.
And that all-important fuel filling the tank on the Corvette. They hope to get through the race in one stop. Have to stand by and see if they can do it. Just about the halfway point. They appear to be in good shape, according to our numbers here. Our leader, 83, is also on pit road. As the Nissan pulls in, let's go to Gary Lee.
And here is Jeff Brabham with the Nissan. The crew goes to work. Jeff is driving a solo. As he told us before the race, they have changed extensively the bodywork, the undercarriage to improve the ground effects. Look at the hot tires come steaming off that car. Brabham driving this solo, so no driver change here. It was a quick pit stop for the Corvette. They did change drivers. No driver change. They're cleaning off the windshield. Now a driver climbs in the cockpit to make some adjustment in there. One of the crew members inside the cockpit now with Brabham. This is developing into a rather lengthy pit stop without a driver change. There's a signal from the crew, and Brabham is underway.
Brabham is out. You saw the Corvette take back to the track. Bill, your assessment of that Nissan pit stop.
I think that extra little move the crew member made was to change the cool boxes. This is what keeps the driver fresh with the cooling fluid being pumped around.
And the Nissan is back on the track as Jeff Brabham tries to make his way back to the lead. Al Holbert, your new leader in the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix. Stay with us. Is Al Holbert and the number 14 Porsche being pressed hard here by Chip Robinson of the Jaguar. Neither of these cars have pitted yet. The 04 Jaguar of Hurley Haywood is third. And here comes Al Holbert into the pits.
Geez, right as you call it, we're getting a leader change right there. And Al is coming in. The first-gear turbocharged Porsche motor needs fuel before the Jaguar does. This is one advantage the Jag does have. It is economy.
We need to reiterate how important these pit stops are. There will be but one in this race, and we're having new leaders as each successive leading car pits. Right now, your leader is the number 44 Jaguar of Chip Robinson as the crew works on Al Holbert.
Yep, there's our Jag going on the track. I could point out to the viewers, too, as the wheel was taken off the Lowenbrow car, that wasn't just dust. That was brake dust. The brake pads being worn down. That's the big poof you saw when the wheel was dropped on the ground.
The fourth leader in the race is Chip Robinson out of Bedminster, New Jersey in the Jaguar. Stretch, here comes Al Holbert out of the pits.
He, too, this just like Derek, got a great stop and really hasn't lost very much time at all. He's rejoining right back in the thick of things. And as usual, you almost get to the point where you're expecting Holbert Racing to be in there, regardless of where they start.
Out in front of Al Holbert is the 83 Nissan, so positions changing constantly. We have not seen the Jaguars pit yet, and more importantly, Bill, both Jaguars are still on the course, so superior fuel economy for the Jaguars. We'll have to see what order they pit in, but presently your leader is the number 44 Jag of Chip Robinson.
Yeah, you would think of a V12 engine as being a very thirsty motor, but in fact they're remarkably efficient. These cars are working with a very good Lucas fuel injection system on it that's been carefully developed over the last few years. Really gets spectacular economy.
Now here's the 07 car. This is Tom Gloy driving the Ford Pro, presently shown in third place on the racetrack. He'll obviously lose that place while the Ford team goes to work. Bill, you mentioned before that some of these teams, like the Holbert crew, not prepared to handle 2 cars at a time. The Jaguars, on the other hand, they are a large team. As we watch Chip Robinson making his way around, if they both had to pit at the same time, could they do it?
Yes, they could. They in fact have 2 separate crews. Each crew has a crew chief that's totally responsible for the car, and Lanky Fouché, my old pal, my old boss, he is the man that is actually the total man in charge. He oversees both cars, but each car does have its own crew, its own crew chief, and is a totally separate entity.
Chip Robinson continuing to make his way around this 1.9-mile Portland International Raceway road course, trying to put a lap on the number 85 Porsche of Bob Wallach, opening up a big lead at this point.
So smooth. Very, very good to watch. Just noticed an interesting point in the pits there when Tom Gloy brought the 07 Ford in, that Len St. James took a look in the car. Tom must have waved her off because she closed the door again.
Cool weather today, not terribly hard on these drivers, so it looks as though some of the teams are going to save the time expense of changing drivers. Klaus Ludwig, Tom Gloy with the Ford team. Gloy apparently will stay in. We'll have to wait for Ludwig to see what he does. But here is Chip Robinson continuing to make his way around, drawing ever closer to Bob Wallach in the Porsche.
Something, too, that the viewers can be alerted to is the fact that you not only lose time in the driver change, but you have to readapt.
Okay, you saw the Nissan in second place as the Jaguar team makes their strategic move, bringing in Chip Robinson, who we anticipate will get out of the car and hand over to Bob Julius as he does.
Spraying the windshield there with a cleaning fluid. Now, here's the Nissan on the back part of the course. Is it possible that they're going to get by before the Jaguar leaves the pits? This is our question right now.
This is a battle for the lead. The Nissan makes his way around. Will the Jaguar get back out in time for Bob Julius to retain the lead? The Jaguar crews are the best in the business. The Jag is down. The Jag is on pit road. Here comes the Nissan down the front straightaway. It's a race on either side of the pit wall. Here they come. And it looks like Jeff Brabham of the Nissan will take over the lead. Here comes Al Holbert in the second place Porsche. Holbert in 14 on the outside, the Jaguar on the inside, and Holbert takes second place, dropping Bob Julius and the Jaguar to third.
Well, an excellent stop. The Jaguar fellas could not have done a better job. It's simply that the other two were charging up so quickly. The momentum on the straight took them both past Julius and the Jaguar.
Once again, that's the importance of fast pit work and no crew in the business. Whoa, Bob Julius getting used to the fresh tires on that Jaguar on his first trip around this PIR course. The Jaguars hold the record for fastest pit stops, in a competition held for these GTP teams sponsored by the Kodak people. The fastest tire change, driver change, and fueling has been accomplished in 25 seconds by those Jaguars. So you are watching the best there is right there.
They are amazing.
So our leader is now the number 83 Nissan. In second place is Al Holbert in the Porsche. You're watching a battle for third here as Bob Julius is pressed hard by Derek Bell in the Porsche number 1.
Well, Bob has to reacquaint himself to the track. And once you've been out on the track for 5 or 6 laps, you're warmed up as well as the car. You've reestablished the all-important rhythm, and you know how deep you can get into the corner before you put the brakes on, where you can start to accelerate. And Bob has to get this rhythm. As we're watching a pass, Derek gets by him at the end of the straight right there.
So as the Nissan makes its way through traffic in first place, Al Holbert in a Porsche is second, and teammate Derek Bell takes over third from Bob Julius in the 44 Jaguar.
These fellas are really having a good battle out here, and hopefully as Bob's tires heat up and his own rhythm gets reestablished, we're going to have another challenge.
Bob Julius, a former national champion in sports cars, as Derek Bell puts a wheel off. Julius along the ramrod of Jaguar racing here in North America. Here is your leader, and to help you learn a little more about these complex cars, ESPN and the International Motorsports Association present this Track Fact.
The brakes on an IMSA GTP car are air-cooled. Now, on the Porsche 962s, just below the headlamps, is the air intake. As we take off the fiberglass nose, we can see the hose that directs the air back to the rotor. The rotor is finned and also drilled on the side to dissipate the heat. The operating temperature is about 1,200 to 1,400 degrees, but without the air induction cooling system, the temperature would climb to nearly 2,000 degrees.
Thank you, Gary Lee. We'll be back to Portland, the Rose City, for more of the G.I. Joe Grand Prix here on ESPN right after these words. So stay with us. Bob Tullius in the 44 Jaguar wants his third place back in this race from Derek Bell.
This is really impressive right here. Look at the horsepower. Almost identical speed down the straight, and Bob's in the right place. There, good pass under braking. He had the inside line to the corner. Derek really couldn't do anything about it without risking the car.
Bill, I know you used to drive for this Jaguar team. You know Bob Tullius well. I've got to think after all the frustration the Jaguar team has been through this year, that was a very satisfying pass.
Well, it has to be. Bob has long had a bee in his bonnet about the advantages of the turbocharged cars. He was the one that lobbied for the additional weight being put on for the turbocharger, the boost control knob being put on the outside of the car. And certainly he, as much as anyone, really loves to beat the Porsches.
Porsche and Jaguar, along one of the great rivalries of motorsports, continuing today here at Portland, Oregon, in the International Motorsports Association Camel GT Series.
An interesting little point right there. You can just see the front end of Derek's car is up in the air. He must have broken a hood pin someplace. There's a little bit of a gap between them, and this maybe is causing some sort of an aerodynamic problem in the high-speed section.
The Jaguar and the Bell Porsche both putting another lap on the 24 Pontiac Fiero. That's the leader in the Camel Lights race within a race here at Portland. You see another of the Camel Lights cars, the red 73 Howard Katz Chevy Tiga up in front there, or Tyga, here from Great Britain. The cars are built. Derek Bell losing on the interval to Bob Tullius. Bill, I'd have to guess Derek's having some problems with that Porsche. He shouldn't be losing ground like that.
No, Bob is...
Oh, we've got a car off the course. It's the Camel Lights leader. It's Bob Earl and the Pontiac Fiero. They're smoking the cockpit. Safety worker on hand. Lots of smoke.
It brings back memories of Watkins Glen of a fire extinguisher going off, but I think it's more serious than that. Bob does have some problem here that it doesn't appear to have damaged the car externally, but I don't think the engine is quite right. Yeah, a little smoke there.
Earl wiping his eyes. That had to be acrid smoke. It looks like perhaps the engine mounted amidships on that car has blown, and plenty of acrid smoke in the eyes of Bob Earl. And that hands the lead in the Camel Light class to this man, the one and only series champion, Jim Downing from Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, Jim's our reigning Camel Light champion, and certainly he got that championship through good, intelligent, smooth, steady driving. He's very, very quick in these cars, and sometimes he'll just play a bit of a game, very much reminiscent to what Holbert does.
You see along the side of that car the extensive replumbing that had to be done. They had to put mufflers on the cars for the race here at Portland. As we watch Jeff Brabham, a turbo car with no problem there, the exhaust muffled by the turbocharger. But some of the cars without turbocharging had to add mufflers so that their exhaust noise did not reach above 110 decibels. And it's been a problem for some, as you can tell from all that extra plumbing on Downing's car.
Well, I think it's a delight for some, too, because the Mazdas certainly are loud.
Another good look from inside our 68 BF Goodrich camera car, Darren Brasfield from Los Gatos, California, now at the wheel and now being passed by the leader.
There's that Nissan horsepower once again. Talking about tremendous horsepower in the Porsche, 800 horsepower, but look how the Nissan just blows by him down the street.
And that's the product of recent redevelopment on that car, and we talked with car owner Don Devendorf about the kind of work they had to do. You see some of the gray bodywork here, some of the changes made, trying to make chassis and engine work together.
Well, basically, we're very happy with the engine program. At least the races we've been at, we've been, equal to any of the competition that's been out there as far as the car performance in the straightaway. And what we're trying to do is get the chassis to work as well as the engine. The engine's been quite reliable, and it's really been pretty impressive, I think, in terms of what it's been able to do with some of the fastest cars in the series. And so what we're trying to do is make the whole package work together, and I think we're making a lot of strides towards doing that. If our wind tunnel numbers are right, basically it's gives us a lot more adjustability. It gives us the ability to make more downforce in some tracks, as well as the ability to make lower drag at some tracks. So it gives us the capability of being able to balance the car and tune the car for the type of track that we have to run at. The IMSA series has quite a variety, and giving us this ability really allows us to make the car more consistently capable of running at the lead at any track we go to. The object is, in any racing, is to make the car faster, and in doing that you can make the car more reliable so that you don't have to run it as hard during the race. And so we're going through what we feel is an important evolutionary step, and taking this car from where we originally had it and making improvements to make the car really, be consistently a front runner in the IMSA series.
Well, you can't run any further out front than that redesigned Nissan is right now. Jeff Brabham continues to lead handily as we make our way through the 78th of 97 laps here in the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix. Plenty of great racing still to come here on ESPN, so don't go. Gary Lee down on pit road as you watch the leader in the G.I. Joe's 300-kilometer Grand Prix, the 83 Nissan of Jeff Brabham. Making his way. Whoa, and we've got Doc Bundy off course in the Corvette.
It looks like he's gone up over the curb, Bob, too. It may have done some damage. In fact, the car, here's a replay now. We might be able to see what happened, but Doc is already sideways right there and has come very close to hitting this GTP light. Now as he goes backwards and up, bouncing hard over the curb. Ouch. That is definitely going to hit the underside of the car and may damage the tunnels.
Well, Doc Bundy back on course in the Corvette, completing that pass in the 73 Camel Lights car of Howard Katz, and seems to be all right. But the leader remains Nissan and Jeff Brabham. Bundy, by the way, holds on to 5th place after that situation, so Doc maintains 5th as you see the scars on the left front headlight cover of the Nissan. That after contact very early in this race with that Chevrolet Corvette.
Well, thankfully, it appears that hasn't affected this car at all. It has run just beautifully, and Don Devendorf and the whole Electromotive crew have to be so proud of this performance today. Very, very nice to see happen, too. They have worked so hard. I'm really glad for them. Great to see another car come into this series and provide additional competition.
You see the Nissan lapping the STS Automotive number 66 Camel Lights car. Mike Meyer and Steve Rothbard, winners of the 12 Hours of Sebring this year, but only 3 cars remain in that Camel Lights class. 5 came here to Portland. It's been a tough road trip for the Camel Lights cars. 4 actually started the race. We saw Bob Earl in the Pontiac Fiero drop out with a blown engine just a few moments ago. There are 3 cars left. Everybody is in the money today. And so Jeff Brabham remains our leader here at the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix as we take another look at the awesome devastation of nearby Mount St. Helens. We'll be back in Portland, Oregon after this. G.I. Joe's Grand Prix here at Portland, Oregon. Bob Barsh and Bill Adam with you to watch the Nissan of Jeff Brabham, your leader, making his way through the field. There's the gap to second place. Al Holbert sliding it through the turns in an effort to overtake.
It's really impressive. Just watch Nissan and what Jeff Brabham have done today. You can see that as hard as Al is trying right now, he cannot dent that lead. Jeff has it solid at this point.
Whoa, this is Derek Bell in the number 1 Porsche off the course. When was the last time we saw Al Holbert and Derek Bell both go off the race course on the same day?
Well, I wonder if something... Oh, they're right alongside the number 52 Corvette. I wonder if something might not be right with that car today, because Derek has had a couple of problems.
Contact there. Oh, Doc Bundy in the Corvette touched the right rear, left rear, that is, of Derek Bell's Porsche, very nearly send the Englishman spinning.
I don't think everything is right with Derek's car. You can see that's twitching right now. As he comes out of that corner, the back end is twitching. That just is not normal for either Derek or for the Lowengrau Porsche.
Now, Bell was in 4th place. He got back on, stayed in 4th. Bundy is challenging. Now Bundy to the inside on the backstretch. No, Bell will hold it.
Derek just went deep enough not to allow Doc a shot at passing there.
This is the battle for 4th place. You see Klaus Ludwig in the Ford Probe moving up behind.
Definitely got problems with that car. You can see the back end pull out under braking. Derek will now be having problems getting on the gas early enough for the straight, and I would expect Doc will make a challenge right here down the straight.
The horsepower of the Chevy Corvette does away with the Porsche. Doc Bundy takes over 4th place from Derek Bell. Klaus Ludwig lurks in 6th position. Great racing going on everywhere but on the point, it would seem.
Now, the braking of Derek's car is still fine. You can see he's closed right back up on Doc, but exiting the corners, he's losing tremendous amounts of time.
Here's the battle for 2nd place now. Al Holbert holding off Bob Tullius in the Jaguar. got fights going on all over the racetrack here in Portland.
Just fantastic battles right for this end of the race, Bob.
This is a sprint race. Normally in endurance racing, you expect races to be won by laps, but if this one is going to be won by mere seconds by the Nissan, it would seem. Jeff Brabham with about a 14-second lead over this battle between series champ Al Holbert and a very hungry Bob Tulius in the Jaguar.
You can see the Jaguar chassis actually appears to be working better than the Lowenbrow Porsche at this point. It is not sliding as far out in the corners, and you can watch that Bob is able to take a much neater line at the same speed as the Porsche and yet not slide out as far. Just watch as we go through this corner here, how much tighter the Jag can stay tucked in.
Al Holbert climbing the curb on each side, trying to keep Bob Tulius in his mirrors. Boy, if we thought Bob Tulius passing Derek Bell's Porsche was satisfying for him, imagine what it would be like for Tulius to pass his nemesis, Al Holbert, the Lowenbrow Porsche number 14.
Well, Bob wants it very badly. And here's another...
Oh, the battle for, let's see, 4th, 5th position there, and Klaus Ludwig got right under the tail of Doc Bundy's Corvette. Here it is again.
I can't understand that. Klaus Ludwig looked like he slid directly into the back of Doc's cars. His wheels were not turned, showing that he had a pushing condition or a severe understeer. It looked like he went right under. Now there's our leader.
Jeff Brabham squeezes by Doc Bundy on the inside. Close moment there for the leader, Brabham and the Nissan. But he's away cleanly. Now up ahead, Brabham has to overtake this pack. Derek Bell, Tom Gloy, Klaus Ludwig, Bruce Levin, all battling. Levin is a couple of laps down, but 4th place is in the offing for Derek Bell if he can hold it over Gloy. There is your leader, the Nissan. Jeff Brabham will take the white flag. There will be 1 lap to go for the Nissan of Jeff Brabham when he comes down the front straight.
What a day for him.
Now, wait, where is he? He's on pit road. The leader is on pit road with 1 lap to go.
This is unbelievable.
Well, this obviously is an unscheduled stop. Perhaps all that horsepower has taken its toll in fuel consumption. Just a splash of fuel. There is a fire on the car, quickly extinguished as he drives away, but just a splash of fuel.
It's too late. It's too late for the Nissan. Al Holbert has gone by. The Jaguar has gone by. Jeff Brabham comes back onto the course in 3rd place. He had held the lead for 51 laps or so, but here is your new leader, Al Holbert.
I can't believe the luck of that. He's 1 lap to go and they lose it, but look at this. Al Holbert never out of possession.
Now suddenly we've got a battle. Bob Tulius and the Jaguar can win the first race of the season for the Group 44 Jaguar effort if he can get through traffic. As they approach turn 9, he's got 1 more shot at Al Holbert. Oh, when things go your way, they go all the way your way.
What an incredible finish. First in the kart race, the Andretti's, and now here at the IMSA race.
And it appears it will not happen. Bob Tulius is 2nd, and Al Holbert, the defending champ, takes an unbelievable hand-me-down victory in the G.I. Joe's Grand Prix here at Portland. There is the Holbert crew.
They're almost stunned. They're happy, but they can't believe what has happened.
Well, as we take a look at our unofficial winner, Al Holbert of the number 14 Porsche, we got bad news for that Holbert crew. Derek Bell's car is deteriorating rapidly. He is losing positions. I don't know what it is about you and me, Bill, as we watch Jeff Brabham, who was unofficially 3rd, first the West Palm Beach, incredible finish, and now this. We'll have to wait to see where Derek Bell can bring it home. We'll try to straighten it all out for you after these words. Official top 10. Al Holbert picks up his 5th victory of the season over the Jaguar of Chip Robinson and Bob Tulius. Brabham finishes 3rd after that incredible last lap stop for gas. Ford's in 5th and 6th position. Derek Bell drops back to 7th on the last couple of laps. Gary Lee is standing by with the happy winner, Al Holbert.
Well, sometimes it doesn't always take the fastest car. You wait for the race to come back to you, right?
Boy, I tell you, it must look like we have so much luck. I can't believe it. I made a mistake driving, and the concentration wasn't there, and I think I was distracted by being worried about Derek. He did a wonderful job, but I was watching that too much, and I made a mistake. And then on top of that, I mean, Jeff's car is just too quick for us here, and the BMW is too quick for us here. But I feel magnanimous right now, and maybe that's I'll pay tribute to the rules makers that we've created parity. But for the Porsche Lowenbrow car, I'll take it any way I can get it.
Is it easier to run 2 drivers in 1 car than to spread out your effort and drive 2 cars?
We're learning. I'm not sure. I think maybe it is. You know, Derek and I work so well together, and maybe it's not the smartest thing to break up that relationship. He was going real fast there. I'm not sure what his problem was, but my car just had a little more grunt down a straightaway, I guess, and I had a little better balance through some of the slow corners, but I'm not sure what. We may have to think real hard about doing this again.
There was some confusion in the pit area as to who actually won the race. Was there any confusion in the cockpit of number 14?
My guys were telling me we had one more lap to go, but we didn't have any doubt where we were on the racetrack. We were very concerned about pesky old Bob Tullius without any horsepower. He just keeps hanging around even though he doesn't have any horsepower, and he was right there. So we felt we had one more lap to go, but I was real happy to see the checker.
You'll take it anyway.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, one more lap couldn't have made it any more exciting than it was. Here's the race summary. Race time, average speed of 108 miles an hour plus, not a record. 97 laps, sorry, that's the way the official scorers have it. Brabham, the fastest qualifier. Van der Merwe, the fastest race lap. Standing by now with that disappointed Jeff Brabham, Gary Lee.
Jeff, what a victory celebration we would have had you had 3 more gallons of fuel.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, we ran good in the race and just came up short. There's nothing I could do about it, and you know, I'd like to thank the Nissan people for giving me a great car, and I'm sure they're gonna be tough for the next race.
In retrospect, could you have stretched out that first stop for an additional 2 or 3 laps?
Well, we're a little bit unknown because, you know, with a new car and everything and the little amount of time we had in practice, we didn't ever ran the car dry, you know, and we felt that we went just over halfway, you know, on our first stop, and, you know, we might have had a fuel leak or something, but it definitely was unexpected.
Obviously, though, it is a car to be reckoned with.
Well, I certainly would say so. You know, the car ran great all day, never gave me any trouble whatsoever, and, you know, I had to drive pretty hard to stay ahead of Al, but as I say, it just wasn't meant to be.
Well, our condolences to Jeff Brabham. Here are the point standings in the IMSA Camel GT points battle. Al Holbert with a fat 44-point lead over his teammate Derek Bell. Remember, that's the way they finished last year. Bryce Cobb with the Rob Dyson team in 3rd place. Well, all the laughter turned to sorrow in the Nissan GTP pits just after Jeff Brabham returned to the track with the fuel he needed to finish the race. 1st to 3rd place is bitter consolation for that team. Yet one man's sorrow is another man's joy. And from defeat came victory for Al Holbert's Lowenbrow crew. What more can you say about the frustration and disappointment mirrored in the face of Jeff Brabham? But to the winner go the spoils, and our congratulations to Al Holbert. For Bob Varsha, Bill Adam,